Hello, my name's Steve Stewart and I am the founding consultant of Vric.Consulting, and this is Vricipedia 2023, your guide to children's services recruitment and retention, chapter 2.1, Introductions to Managed Agency Service Providers, MSPs. Okay, so what is an MSP? Well, an MSP is a single organisation that will manage all of your agency provision for you. Okay. Therefore, there'll be a single contract that normally has a procurement exercise to undertake it, although invariably now or increasingly, that's going to be a mini competition for a call off on a framework agreement. Okay, lots of frameworks out there. And there are different models of supply, there are different types of MSP, and this is where you might actually recognise some names. So you might recognise master vendor, you might recognise vendor neutral, you might recognise the term hybrid. Heck, you might have actually seen a genuine hybrid. And a joint venture model is increasingly apparent, but that's a different kettle of fish you'll come on to. Okay. Managed service providers. Why? Well, the idea is that you also get now to work under your own favourable terms. If you ever have a CV sent to you on spec from an agency who's not through your MSP, it should have the terms and conditions of supply attached. And you will look at them and you'll see that they're actually pretty flimsy, but what there is there will very much be weighted in favour of the supplying agency. It also ensures that insurances are in place or specifies those in terms of the contract and spec. It will have in there standards for safeguarding and also recruitment standards. It will be able to provide aggregated management information rather than having to have it all coming from different sources in different forms. It'll all be in one place for you. It also makes, therefore, audit and contract management easier if you're only dealing with one agency as opposed to 49, 59, 69 or whatever. And also the idea is that if you're aggregating all of that spend, you should be able to deliver savings on it. It also allows you to build a partnership with a product specialist so that a managed service provider is an expert in sourcing agency staff for you. Yeah, so therefore you should be able to build a partnership. They get to know your needs and be able to provide that for you. And also the ability as well to have focused CSR aims that will meet your needs and requirements of the borough and have them tailored to you as well. Okay, so those are the ideas that are why we have a managed service provider. But if you find yourself on a working group trying to decide what kind of model of managed service provision you have, or what kind of things should be in your service specification and contract, what should you say from a children's services perspective? Well, that's where I'm here to help you. So you want to know, will it provide adequate staff? And that's both in terms of numbers and in terms of quality. Okay, so both numbers and quality. Is it sustainable? Now, often when you hear the word sustainability or in this kind of context, people think, is it economically sustainable? Will we be able to continue to afford it? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. What if the price is too cheap? What if in driving down the prices so much that the quality of business that is there is that actually social work providers don't want to deal with you? Is the corporate contract having a single rate for all staff everywhere? If so, is the market the same for environmental health operatives? Is it the same for admin staff? Is it the same for staff in leisure service? Is it the same for groundskeepers? Is it the same for legal staff? Is it the same for all of those other people all those other offices that you pass in the council houses and town halls, or not if you're working remotely nowadays? And if it isn't, is the rate going to be right for you to enable you to get the numbers and quality of staff that you need? What do you need to do to make it work? So in terms of self-service, self-delivery, in terms of updating, in terms of actually having people on site, in terms of having people trained or whatever, what is the requirements of your managers? Because it will vary. It will vary in the outcome, but again, it varies depending on the spec that you put out there. Now, managed service providers, why? Here's a very good question for you to ask. Is that if this doesn't deliver for you and you go off contract, who's going to deliver this for you? So if you go and get a worker from a source because they're brilliant and you need to have them and you can't get them from anywhere else, you're not going to be working under your own favourable terms. You don't know about the insurances, you don't know about the safeguarding, and they're going to say, yes, it's all right. You're not necessarily going to care about management information. You're not necessarily going to care who's going to audit those files to make sure that they're in place. The savings, go hang. You're not necessarily going to be building a partnership with a specialist, and there's certainly not going to be CSR aims. So the question is that when you go off contract, it isn't just about the corporate situation is just trying to put something into place to try and do something to save some money. It's not. It's about protecting you as well against all of these things. So if you're going to go off contract, who's going to deliver those? So those are questions. But isn't it just much better if you make the contract work? I'm Steve Stewart. This is Vricipedia. Hope to speak to you again soon.